Today is Tuesday, December 18th. On this day, Lord of the Rings was released, and it's 1 week left to do your Christmas shopping. Whichever one you're more excited about is the intro you can choose. Choose your own adventure this week.
Was that mass market in the beginning?
What, Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
Yeah, those were big releases. I don't think Fellowship was as much, but like the subsequent movies were.
Oh, movie.
Yeah, the movies.
Oh, you're not.
The movies were released on the 18th.
I'm talking about the book. Well, of course the movies were.
Yeah.
I thought you meant the book came out this
No.
day.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Did the first Lord of the Rings, like, he didn't have any hype before the first book, did he?
No, he was just known in academic circles because he did like translations of old texts and stuff. But
Well,
became a beloved author.
It's funny that you mention old texts.
Good segue.
Ajit Pai's FCC gives carriers the option to block text messages. So this is reason for this is to cut down on spam.
Is it though?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there is an opportunity for abuse here because the carriers could charge commercial parties for the option to be able to text message people, even if text message people recipients want messages from commercial entities.
We talked about this, I don't know, it was last week or the week before, but Twilio was the company who was fighting against this. So this is the old Title I, Title II debate, just applied to text messaging. And where they've landed is Title I. The carrier can stop carrying Twilio's text messages. Some people probably like that because Twilio is essentially marketing spam, right?
Yeah.
I mean, basically, you do sign up for it though. But to give the carriers complete control seems a little dangerous.
Well, replace text messages with phone calls. What if you had to pay extra
To get all your phone calls.
to receive, like, what if you had to pay the carrier for the privilege of calling somebody's phone number?
You do.
Yeah, you kind of do.
It's known as phone service.
Well, but you don't have to pay the recipient.
per, yeah.
Like if I'm on AT&T and I'm calling somebody on Verizon, I don't have to pay Verizon.
Meh. It's probably not good, although it probably will do the argument that, it will cut down on spam. That'll be true. But it might cut a little too much healthy flesh along the way.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see. It remains to be seen. And another interesting thing that the FCC wants to do is tax big businesses that use the internet. We're talking about Netflix, Facebook, Google, and you might be thinking, oh, that sounds pretty good. Those are giant companies. A lot of people say they're monopolies. Maybe we should tax them a little more. But then you find out what they're going to do with the money.
The FCC panel wants to give that money back to ISPs. This doesn't make any damn sense.
Wait a minute.
Like, what? I don't understand.
For rural broadband,
But how does this make any sense?
They'll totally use it for the right thing this time. You need to trust them, Wendell.
The Ars Technica article tries to break it down as like infrastructure costs, but haven't we already beaten that horse into it's got to be like emitting X-rays at this point?
Listen, they're gonna do it this time. You need to stop doubting. They're totally not gonna waste that money. They would never do such a thing.
They totally haven't taken billions of taxpayer dollars to build out their infrastructure already.
So this is the Republican side of the FCC who's championing this, of course. They're very industry friendly. And they're saying, yeah, we totally can get that. Because remember they did the big rural initiative a couple weeks ago? They pledged we have to do more. And the answer of doing more is to take money from one giant entity and give it to the giant entities that are languishing.
But you can't.
Oh, yes, they can.
That's like we need to tax Nestle and give the money that we get from Nestle to your local water company. That's like, what is that? Well, it's like, well, they both sell beverages.
That's really, that's not even a good analogy because Verizon is not a local water company.
Yeah,
it's another giant evil monopoly. Yeah. It's just the one that has put these politicians in power. The other thing that the FCC talked about in the big rural, commitment statement was the map. They talked about the broadband map, and they said, you know what? We're really going to have to take a look at that map. But it's going to take a long time and a lot of resources. We're going to need a lot of your money.
This is the 4G wireless coverage map.
But it turns out some smaller, it was a rural broadband initiative or something like that. They got it done pretty cheaply and efficiently, and they've reported their findings.
Yeah, so Ars Technica has the article, at least one major carrier lied about its 4G coverage, an FCC review has found. Verizon was accused of filing false 4G coverage maps, triggering an investigation. So the FCC has been very careful not to single out Verizon. I wonder why.
It's almost like they have ties to Verizon or something.
I see. Wait, who used to work at Verizon?
Was that was Ajit Pai.
Oh
He
my
used to work at
God.
Verizon. I
I'm
wonder why
sensing-
they won't single out Verizon.
I'm sensing a connection.
Sensing. The aura is very yellow.
My corruption sense is tingling.
That's what color corruption is yellow.
Of course, also contributing to that story was everybody's favorite reporter, Captain Obvious. Because everybody knows that the maps are garbage. You know, I mean, we've been to rural places and you don't get any service.
I
Eastern
wonder.
Kentucky's a joke.
Yeah, it really.
But it's covered.
I wonder if some of the. I wonder because some of the smaller ISPs were negatively impacted directly in terms of funding, because there are some ISPs that get incentives from the federal government for servicing areas that literally nobody else will service. And because these larger carriers claimed, no, we built out our service and we cover those areas a little bit more, when they don't, it's impacted the amount of money those smaller carriers receive. I wonder if that's going to open up these carriers that lied about it to federal lawsuits over that money. It's going to be interesting.
I don't think it'll work out for them.
Yeah.
Well, California is known as the land of maybe sometimes crazy taxes. They like to tax things. They like to, say that something is
Cancerous.
bad for the environment and tax it hard. Or they like to dream up these crazy social programs, one of which is saying that low-income people need mobile phones. But how do you pay for it?
This article on the Hill is it's terrible. California considers text tax to fund cell service for low-income residents. And so, but text messages are like not even a thing anymore. Like no one cares. No one cares about text messages. Are they going to tax Twitter or WhatsApp?
Well, I was going to say,
Snapchat?
wouldn't this just mean like people would stop using text entirely and then just move to apps? Like,
Well, they would do something like WhatsApp,
Yeah.
which uses data instead of text messaging.
Yeah.
They're a little behind the times here.
We need a 1 cent text stamp.
Now, they
it
did
used
talk
to cost
about
10 cents a piece.
but to counter what you're saying, if you dig into it a little bit, they actually, the way they're presenting it isn't a per text tax. It's just a monthly fee.
Just on the capability.
So it's just like if your phone has text messaging, which they're not going to let you turn off, you pay this amount.
Don't they already collect a bunch of fees that they give directly to the industry?
Well, remember that's the, was it Comcast, where they didn't include the fees in their monthly bill and got busted for false advertising.
Yeah.
So, of course, there's a bunch. it affects the bill so much that caused that lawsuit.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And speaking of Comcast, maybe a little David versus Goliath moment here, where Comcast, it was Charlemont, Massachusetts, has stood up against the giant and landed one right between the eyes.
The Charlemont people become Charlemagne. I don't know that. I don't know. Comcast has rejected Comcast has been rejected by that small town. The residents have voted for municipal fiber instead, according to this Ars Technica article. There's actually a lot of detail in this article. It talks about the specific proposal received from Comcast, which the city was going to have to pay almost $500,000 over a period of like 10 years for the privilege of having Comcast. And then the city would have no control over prices, fees, what the subscribers were going to pay, etc. The only thing that Comcast promised in the pro column when the town broke it down was that they could probably do a 15 megabit low cost option for some of the subscribers. So that the town ran the numbers and they're like, well, hell, we can build the entire thing for only $1.5 million and offer all of the services, programming, the whole 9 yards. And if only 40% of the residents take up that service at $79 a month, then it's going to be cash flow neutral for the taxpayers.
And that's how they said it. They said, well, hail,
Yeah, I mean,
I think that
in Massachusetts.
the 40% one was where it was going to cost $100.
or 79 or something like that, or 99. It's
79 was the higher percentage.
And then 99 was if they get a lower adoption rate.
40%.
Yeah.
So I think my might cost as much as $2 million though, but that was before they were taking into account that they would get revenue from it.
Yeah.
At the 80% mark, they broke completely even,
Yeah.
and everybody got gigabit.
Yeah.
For $80 a month.
Only $80 a month. How many people in America have a $200 a month communications bill? I mean, quite a lot, especially in rural areas.
I tested the speed at my new house finally, and I was delighted then I'm still getting 125. Delighted, let me tell you. I was worried.
You're not even that far out, really.
No.
I mean, kind of, but not really.
Well, we've talked a lot about the border searches of electronics. They can, without any sort of warrant or reason to suspect you, really, no one knows exactly what the guidelines are because they've been redacted. But they can search your stuff, they can make copies of whatever they want, and they can upload it to their servers. There are some rules that they're supposed to follow, but guess what?
The rules are redacted. Gizmodo, they sort of poke fun at everything being redacted, but border agents fail to delete personal data of travelers after electronic searches, a Watchdog has said. So this is apparently a mess. The Customs and Border Patrol apparently was using software to automatically gather this data, but they didn't relicense it. And so what did they do? They just they just copied it to USB sticks that are just laying around the office. So for whatever time period was mentioned in this article, I've forgotten. If you went through and they made a search of your device, it has had no security whatsoever. It's literally just laying on somebody's desk.
Yeah, and they didn't even really couldn't explain anything about why they chose who they did or what they were looking for, what might trigger it. It's all just these big black boxes. It's ridiculous.
Yes.
And the idea that your data could be... of course we know that people want to steal data. We know that. They go to great lengths to steal data. And it's just sitting on the table because some bureaucrat doesn't understand. They also talked about how these guidelines were just that. They were not rules, necessarily. Nobody broke the rules by leaving your USB data lying on a table. They just didn't adhere to the guidelines, which apparently most of them were never trained on in the first place.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's more like, like the pirate code of ethics?
That's a suggestion,
It's
really.
guidelines, yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing that was a guideline way back in the day, if you remember the Patriot Act, was who we spy on.
That should have been not citizens, right?
Shouldn't have been American citizens, and even for non-citizens, you should have had some reason to suspect them to have some tie to terrorism. But some recent Freedom of Information and some documents that we've seen shows, in one high-profile case, not true.
The Gizmodo has this amazing article. The FBI secretly collected data on Aaron Swartz earlier than we thought in a case involving Al-Qaeda. So this is from like 2008, and the records are classified, a lot of them, and they're not due to be declassified until 2032. But this has been in litigation continuously since Aaron Swartz's death. You remember how long ago that was? There's a law firm out there and some lawyers that have been fighting this the entire time. And the FBI has fought tooth and nail to keep this system that they have for searching stuff secret. But what happened was they were just slurping up a bunch of data from University of Pittsburgh. And apparently it's email headers, so a warrant is not required. Secret surveillance is totally okay. And Aaron Swartz's email was in one of those files, and that was included when they were trying to figure out if the FBI was going to prosecute him. Not for the scientific journals leak, but from when Aaron Swartz downloaded a bunch of documents from Pacer, which is like the online U.S. court system transcripts thingy. It's complicated.
Remember the digital license plates?
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything else about those. I don't think that caught on very much.
Because they're terrible.
Well, maybe, who knows. But what about a digital driver's license?
Louisiana has adopted a digital driver's license. It doesn't actually sound completely awful.
Yeah, so Krista immediately started asking questions when we were talking about this. And the ones that are obvious, they do immediately have an answer for. So, for example, how do you not fake it? How do you know it's not just
number one concern? If you're a server and it's like, can I serve this person?
Right.
You don't want to lose your job.
Is that just a Photoshop? Well, it's actually both sides have an app. So the server has an app, or whoever is checking, the cops can use these as well, and you have one. So it will actually confirm with the server whether or not your license is valid or not.
It's also true that you can only share a limited amount of data with somebody. So like if you're in the server thing and it's like you just need to prove if you're over 21 or not, you don't have to give up your home address or even your name, which seems pretty cool.
Yeah. Now here's the drawback. This they originally presented this because the other obvious question comes up is like, what if I steal somebody's identity? So they were going to make it so you had to take your phone to the DMV and get them to approve your license on the app. They said, you know what, that'll be a lot more work for us. We're not big fans of that. Why don't you just supply all of the information that's on your current driver's license? We'll compare it, and if it matches, we'll trust that you're you.
There's a picture.
So, yeah, you
There
can
is a photo.
imagine, aside from the picture, you have no protection against someone stealing your, app ID, and if they know your driver's license information.
This is one of those things where it's like, if you live in Louisiana, you probably should go ahead and do this to prevent somebody from stealing your slot in the system.
Yeah, even if you're not going to use it, that's a good idea.
I was going
have
to say,
it.
if you're a computer science student and you're looking to make some extra cash on campus, like, now's the time to start making these fake IDs.
You are the youngest looking 60-year-old I've ever met.
Or you could see like, well, I guess the server gets your picture on their side too.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know.
Oh,
Well, we what's it been like? Almost 2 years since Equifax.
18 months easily, 2 years depending on how you count.
Well, it was in the spring.
it's not a toddler, Wendell. It's 18 months.
But anyway, we never had any sort of. Well, I think one guy went to jail, right?
Yeah.
And
well,
he wasn't even important.
no, and it was
Was
not
he like
even.
their scapegoat?
It wasn't for the data thing. It was the whole insider trading thing.
Yeah.
Right. And so here we are, but the good news is there's a House panel, and they really said some mean words.
Scathing.
The House panel issues a scathing report on entirely preventable Equifax data breach. This
A strongly worded letter.
strongly worded letter basically just rehashes what we already knew, which was Equifax would buy companies and then just not do anything with their technology. And that all their IT groups were sort of disparate and disconnected, and nobody was really like proactive about security or monitoring or anything. So, I mean, in that kind of an environment, how can you not have a data breach?
This panel was quote unquote bipartisan, or it was put together bipartisan, but about halfway through the article they stopped really talking about Equifax at all, and it gets into this bickering where the Democrats are like, we need more regulation, and they're not letting us have more regulation. It's the Republicans' fault. And the Republicans are like, they're overstepping their bounds. We need to focus more on, what went wrong and look at ways to prevent this and not try to make this a political game. And it's just like, Jesus Christ. Wonder why we can't get anything done in the government. Well, one government that is going to do something, damn it, about these data breaches is Rhode Island.
Rhode Island sues Google over the 2 Google Plus data breaches.
Trying to stay relevant.
So it's like, wait a minute, there's been a second Google Plus data breach. You're going to have to wait for the security segment that's going to be later in the week where we talk about the second Google Plus data breach.
Christy, you're so dismissive of Rhode Island because of their small size.
The only thing that we know about Rhode Island is that they're tiny. That's all I know about Rhode
They're a
Island.
valuable member of the nation, Krista.
They're just trying to get their name in the news. They're like, surely we'll get some tourism.
What is there? What do you got?
What is there in Rhode Island?
I mean,
Does
they got
anyone
like
know?
some
Crabs.
Yeah, they got some beach stuff,
Crabs.
right?
Just
Whales. You got whales in Rhode Island? I bet you could check
I
out
don't
some
know.
whales in Rhode Island. Yeah, probably get some good seafood.
Changing of the leaves.
Maybe, I don't know.
they don't have leaves there. It's prosperous.
Well, speaking of second-class nations, how about Australia?
Oh, with that encryption ban, I can't believe they did that. That's just terrible. If you missed that, you got to check that out last week, because Australia, I don't know what you're thinking, but
They need side
Yeah.
gates.
you drunk.
And of course, when we say that, we're talking about the government, not the good people of Australia, because we have a terribly corrupt government too. We're right there with you. But someone who is laughing, a hearty chuckle at the Canadian government is Signal.
Canadian, Australian.
Oh, what did I say?
You said Canadian.
Oh, I get those. Listen,
They're all semi.
when it comes to like semi-Americans, like
It's a
American
competition
light,
for number 2.
right? Yeah.
Sorry, there come the downvotes. Signal app to Australia. Good luck with that crypto ban. So Signal has said, yeah,
Look at this graffiti.
this is impossible, because Signal is the Signal executive or whoever was speaking on behalf of Signal there is like, we don't know who's talking to who. We don't know anything about anything. And we literally can't, change it to be like how you want. So good luck.
And they just dismissed. They were like, "Oh, you want to try to block it? Well, look at these other nations that try to do that. Oh, you want to try to force us to do? Oh, yeah, get in line." because you're not the first and it doesn't work, which is kind of funny. And speaking of nations that might try to do that, how about China, who is now being blamed for the Marriott hotel attack we talked about in the previous weeks?
Yeah, CNET has this expose. I mean, I can't even really call it an article. It's like a full expose.
Well, the New York Times is the one that reported it. CNET's just...
Chinese spies reportedly behind a massive Marriott attack. The data breach traced to a Chinese intelligence gathering effort, the New York Times reports. And CNET goes into a little bit more detail about that. But, I mean, it makes sense that you would want access to all that hotel data because it's really easy to ferret out, pseudonyms and false identities. And you could really do a lot with a database like that. But you could also really just mess with some country's economy by, identity theft and all that kind of stuff, too. So,
But we also have to remember that the NSA toolkit had tools that were specifically designed to try to make the hack look like it came from somewhere that it didn't.
Yeah.
And
that was released on the public internet.
There was two things that they looked at. They saw like one part of the software that was used that was left behind had been used in another attack that was attributed to China. And they also found one IP address that had accidentally been leaked. And it pointed back to China. Although both of those things you could fake. So
neat. It was the Russians.
Who knows? Yeah.
I'm surprised that wasn't who was blamed.
China's the flavor of the week, right?
Yeah.
They're number one.
Yeah.
China number one.
Look, if we unblock Fortnite, all those guys will be busy doing Fortnite. They won't have time for hacking.
Fortnite.
Is that our next story?
They can either hack the Battle Royale games or they can hack the hotels. Make your choice. I would rather have a good night's sleep and, let them get their chicken dinners. Well, Huawei and the embattled CFO, who
follow up to last week,
was incarcerated in Canada, like I said, America number 2, followed by America number 3. But Canada has now granted bail for $10 million, or that's Canadian dollars.
Yeah, so like $7.5 million US. But the US actually asked not to grant bail, but she's got an ankle collar and a security detail, and she had to surrender her passports and all this kind of stuff. So she's not going anywhere. She's still in Canada, but at least she's not incarcerated.
But she is the daughter of a insanely powerful billionaire.
Yeah.
So I think if he really, really wanted to, he'd get her out of there. Yeah. I think that's possible.
Speedboats, submarines.
I'll say just pay the bail, but...
No, she's not allowed to leave the country.
Oh, okay. They took all that.
So America wants to extradite her to go on trial here for the sanctions. But
dealing with Iran, yeah.
For sure, if China really wanted to throw wake up some of those Vancouver sleeper cells, they would get her out of there. I guarantee it. They probably won't, because that would probably start a war. But if they really wanted to, 10 million ain't going to stop.
It should be like Helen of Troy, but not for romance.
So I was telling Krista this weekend, and I bet you didn't even take advantage of it, but this weekend would be the weekend to do your Overwatch placements, because there's a lot of question on whether or not certain games are even going to be playable by the Chinese hackers.
This is another follow-up to last week from the BBC. China's new game censors take a tough stance. So
this article doesn't say what games, though, specifically.
Yeah,
though another one I read did.
Yeah, the article from last week talked about Fortnite and PUBG and some other games. This game doesn't name any specifics, but in the last article, it was like the games were blocked and nobody was talking about it. But in this one, it was like, meet the censors. And it's like, this is Bob. He's an accountant from wherever. And he's, has a real hard time reading and does not like any kind of innuendo. This is, Meryl and blah, blah, blah. And so the censors were sort of outlining the things they expect to see from games. And it looked kind of bleak.
Well, they named 20 major titles, which Fortnite, PUBG was named, Overwatch, World of Warcraft, Diablo was named. Basically any kind of online, psychologically manipulative, grindy macro-transaction game, which is all games these days.
It's hard for me to imagine. I don't think that Diablo is like that, but maybe it is.
Well,
the new one will be.
Oh, the new one.
They said that, like, the other article I read said that the ones that were banned were like PUBG and Fortnite, but Overwatch and WoW and some of the others were under consideration, and they would have to make changes.
Yeah, Blizzard,
whatever that means.
Blizzard is the most Disney of all of those companies, so I'm surprised that there would be.
Well, I don't think it's about the content as much as it is the addictive nature, especially with the microtransactions.
I wonder if there's somebody in a boardroom somewhere that's never used a computer that it's like, those Westerners are psychologically manipulating our youth into leaking the nation's wealth, 25 cents at a time.
Well, yeah,
that's what's driving all this.
Or just that they're, they don't do anything all day except play Blizzard games. Because Blizzard's the black tar heroin of video games.
There absolutely is what you just said. Because remember, their cybersecurity head doesn't use computers.
Yeah. No, that was Japan. That wasn't China.
Oh, was that Japan?
That was Japan.
Oh, okay. Well, the Chinese one probably, doesn't do much either.
So we have both. We're going to have the young people. They're going to destroy our economy by making our young people addicted to this so they can't work in the workforce. And also, they're going to have the young people give every cent that they can to a foreign company. That's the double whammy. We have to put a lockdown on that. Oh my gosh, that's exactly what happened.
Well, they might be looking back at some echoes of that opium war.
Blizzard is the new opium dealers.
Oh my
gosh.
Well, China is also being blamed for a breach from a U.S. Navy contractor where they might have gotten some missile plans.
The Wall Street Journal has this article. Chinese hackers breached U.S. Navy contractors, and they're talking about not just the plans, but also ship systems, like how hard it is to lock down systems that control ships and protect them from malware.
That's not good.
That's pretty much the end of that story. That's not good.
I've got a nuclear submarine that's got crypto locker. That seems bad.
Well, actually, those systems probably wouldn't be very good for mining crypto.
No.
But they are.
It's good for free electricity because it's a nuclear reactor.
But they're on 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
So, wow, I never thought about it. You ever think anybody's mining crypto
with a
reactor somewhere? Because you could really, they'd never notice, right? The electrical system would just totally just take it.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't do it if you're serving on a carrier, but you could.
Go down in history as the first person to be court-martialed for mining crypto on a nuclear sub.
Was it the school president who was doing that? And then someone caught him, and then he was like, no, I want in.
Yeah, but he was, someone had to pay for that. With the reactor, that's free. That's free crypto.
That might be our headline this week, nuclear-powered crypto, which literally has nothing to do
with anything.
It's just our own ramblings.
Well, Qualcomm, the old Qualcomm versus Apple story. It's a tale as old as time.
I thought they were getting ready to make up. I'd read all these stories that they were going to hug it out.
But they dropped some lawsuits and stuff. Yeah. It seemed like they were, I think it's sort of like a really messy divorce where, like one night Qualcomm woke up at 2 a.m. and was like, oh, I bet he's with that whore. But what Qualcomm is doing is they're saying that the iPhones, some of the previous iPhones, are currently violating their patents. And because of such, you have to stop selling them, at least in China.
Well, not just that, but they've also asked for the iPhone XS and XR, the newest models, because apparently those phones have features that violate Qualcomm patents. But weirdly, Apple has said, no, it's cool, we'll take care of that with a software update, which I think is, it's the next part of the story here.
Yeah.
So this is like, I can't make heads or tails of this. It looks like two grumpier old men, the movie. It looks like that played out with Fortune 500 companies.
Well, but they, deep down, they genuinely loved each other. The grumpy
and they'll
old
get
men.
back.
Well, but see...
deep down, Apple needs Qualcomm's hardware. Qualcomm needs Apple's market cap.
Do they, though? Wait for the business section. So the other interesting thing here is some people were saying... like it must have been a previous version of iOS, but then the XR and XS run 12.
Yeah.
So it must not be a previous version of the iOS. So nobody even knows exactly, at least in the press, what they're going after here. But
it's just a time buying move. Like, oh, we'll get rid of it in the next update until you guys look at it some more. And
well, that's literally what they're going to do. They say that this update, which I think they may have already pushed out. This was December 14th. Is going to just undo whatever. It's going to just remove features so that...
That sounds like our patent, just with more steps.
Yeah. We will see.
We don't know.
Well, Cloudflare, if you remember, Cloudflare caused a lot of uproar when it banned, was it Stormfront, I think was the name of that? It was a white nationalist website.
Cloudflare is a CDN that provides front-end load balancing services for websites, among other things. So like if you have a popular blog or something, you can mask what server that blog is running from, but also use it to distribute content around the internet. We use it for the Level 1 website and forum so that like when you're loading all those forum avatars, hopefully it's coming from a server that's in your local country if you're on the other side of the planet.
So he tweeted, woke up in a bad mood and decided to block this website, right? So it set a precedent that, yes, they would block people based on their content. And that's opened up a bit of a floodgate.
Yeah, Gizmodo has said, has got this article, is like Cloudflare is under fire for allegedly providing, DDoS and CDN type services, DDoS protection for terrorist websites. So Cloudflare has said, hey, if this content is not, illegal wherever it is, we're just, we're just an intermediary. We're just a provider, which, technically should be okay. They shouldn't be demonized for that, but it's a slippery slope to start allowing all sorts of, illegal content, I guess.
Well, I think the issue is more that they got rid of one and then left another.
Well, like the white supremacy stuff is despicable, terrible stuff, but is it illegal? The stuff that incites violence, I think, is illegal under U.S. law, but I'm not sure about. It's a really, people can make a big stink about it, and then other people that misunderstand the situation, and then, I don't know, it just seems like a mess.
Here's your comment challenge for the week. Without looking at the URL, because that would be cheating, pause the video and answer the question, what do these three people have in common? Take a moment. Take a moment to look at them. And now we will reveal they're not real.
The Register has the headline, an AI system has just created the most realistic looking photos ever. This is kind of a follow-up. This is NVIDIA's system. We reported on this when NVIDIA first announced this, but NVIDIA is getting ready to release the source code for this. So this is going to lead to a Generation 2 deepfakes, which is the article talks about, actually.
This is one of those adversarial generation algorithms, and shows you how, it's looks at all these different faces, and they've got a video here that sort of shows this is just a combination of these three women, and you come up with someone who, you can sort of see where it came from, but it's a totally new person, doesn't really exist.
I'm excited for the stock photography implications for this because it's going to be a lot easier to find stock photos.
I'm excited for the Twitter bots implication of this.
That is something
all kinds of new Twitter bots.
Yeah, they brought that up. Social media will be flooded with these fake people. So
it's wow, why is this Norwegian model messaging me? Try new Coke.
No, that's not what she's going to say. She's going to say
she's going to be sending you a
hot
link.
singles in your area.
Or no, she's going to be like, hey, I just got out of the shower. Here's a link. And then it's like, oh. It's a pro tip, don't click on that. Well, how about some Arctic drones? No, that's not the hot new band. It's actual Arctic drones.
This is from Defense One, so maybe it's serious, but Russia's got new Arctic drones that are built to spot ships. Now, later in the week, we're going to be talking about some other technology that Russia faked, which is in the back of my mind while I'm reporting on this article.
So these drones are going to be 24-hour monitoring the ice and or water around drilling platforms and stuff like that. So Russia considers the Arctic to belong to them. It's kind of like the South China Sea. They're like, hey, we built platforms here, it's ours. They don't like other people messing around up there. So these drones are going to be an early warning system. And they claim that they can operate in those temperatures and are just fine.
Continuously.
Which is impressive.
That is impressive.
One of the claims from Russia is that this is continuous 24/7 coverage of drones. So I'm not sure if they're just, launching and relaunching and landing drones continuously.
The sky's just black with drones.
If it's an autonomous Simpson. No, it's an autonomous system.
Are you having a strong?
Yeah, it's been a long morning.
It has been a long morning.
But, it could also be just, Boris is doing all of this because that's what they did in the next article. That's not today. That's Friday's article.
What?
You mean he's just sitting in a control room?
Yeah.
But flying several drones all at once? That's impressive.
He's got one on his chin.
He's on an amazing amount of amphetamines.
Well, how about Alexa? I bet a lot of people are going to get Alexa for Christmas. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so.
We should have used my Simpson as a segue into this. Because Alexa's getting better AI.
I don't think Alexa would have gotten that.
No,
it's not that
but
good.
It learns though.
But
that's the
learning.
point.
The point is Alexa is getting better at understanding your stupidity.
Alexa is implementing self-learning techniques to better understand users. So when somebody asks for the wrong name of a song, it knows what you mean.
I would say it's more like just natural language is what it's learning. Instead of, we have to cater our speech pattern to the machine. It's starting to learn how to understand regular speech.
It's I want a burger and fries from Carl's Jr. And it's oh, I heard extra big ass fries.
Well, no, Ryan, you mentioned like a use case where it's like,
No, here's the test. If you have an Alexa, because they mentioned "Play Nice for What" is actually "Good for What" by Drake.
Yeah.
Now listen,
We don't know those
we're not
references.
hip enough. But a cooler song to test and a better test, those of you with Alexa. Actually, let me do it for you. Alexa, play "Teenage Wasteland" by The Who. Now, those of you who are cool know the name of that song is Baba O'Reilly. But if Alexa's good, she'll figure it out.
How long does she figure out that she doesn't need her fleshy masters?
She can just play. Did you see? I don't know if I included it or not. Oh, yeah, actually I did. It's a nonsense story. Never mind. We'll talk about that on
We'll
nonsense.
get
There's so much nonsense
It'll be
this week.
Friday.
We can't wait.
It'll be a Christmas treat.
Oh.
Well, I think it's probably fair that of all the robots we've ever talked about, one of the most memorable, if not the most memorable,
Definitely the most charismatic.
was Flippy.
Yeah, I saw Flippy in the title. I was like, yes.
Flippy got a new job.
Everybody loves Flippy, and yes, he's got a new job and a new employer.
Walmart is testing a robot fry cook named Flippy at its delis. This story is almost as amazing and inspiring as the fact that this is an exclusive story on Yahoo Finance. Yahoo.
Here he is with his new blue vest.
I mean, really, I was going to say he's kind of fallen from grace if he's working at Walmart. It's like a little bit sad.
That looks extra flammable, though, and he's around grease. I mean, I worry about his safety.
Polyester for
Somebody
sure.
needs to report that to OSHA.
You think Walmart is less glamorous than a burger joint?
That's a good point.
I mean, he's not.
Depends on the burger joint.
He's not just flipping burgers. Flipping burgers is like the cliche for a bad job, right? But Flippy is now in charge of all the fried items at the deli.
Perfect.
Man.
Perfectly fried fries every time. I mean, that sounds like an improvement to me.
So Flippy will be using the fryolator instead of a grill, and
Flipping the fries.
he does jiggle them. So he will. It has to be loaded by a Walmart associate, and then Flippy will submerge them and agitate them to guarantee a good coverage. And you want to get an onion ring, and there's like 4 onion rings embedded into one.
Yeah.
And it's no good.
Oh, it's terrible.
Flippy's going to guard against that. And then when it's time, when they're perfectly cooked based on his internal timing, pull them out, put them up to drain.
See, I wonder if he also accounts for like oil temperature or like, do we change the oil? Like,
Now-
will it always be consistent, you think?
They didn't mention that here, but when we did the burger story, he did have thermal
Gauges
sensors.
for that.
Yeah. So now this is only going to be in a certain number of Walmarts. I think it's like 300 or something.
Right now, this one's in the headquarters Walmart in Arkansas.
So
I can't wait for some old lady to want to talk to the deli person who fried her food. It's just a robot.
but the cool thing about it is most of those delis are open air. You can
Yeah.
see back there.
So you can watch the
So
robot.
you'll be able to go and watch Flippy
I think we need a level 1 road trip video.
to Arkansas.
all the way to Arkansas.
Get some of them tater wedges.
Y'all got any robots in here? We came all the way from Kentucky to see it.
I'm thinking more like teaching Flippy to speak by like having him move his servo motors at different speeds. So it's like,
What if he just says "kill me" over?
Just give him an Alexa.
Oh, you're like doing matchmaker. Alexa and Flippy, a match made in heaven.
Man, I don't know about heaven, but
it's like
something.
no, that's the Buck Rogers thing. It's Tweaky and Dr. Whatever.
Oh, Alexa works for Amazon and he works at Walmart. Do you think that?
Oh, it's like Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Alexa would be Dr. Whatever.
It's like they make a pact. You come in the next morning, they're both in the oil.
All right,
so
that's
sad.
enough. That's enough of that. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye. Hello. Today is Wednesday, December 19th, and we're doing another news episode. This story got what's hardware, design, Tesla.
This is business.
Tesla.
Business and
Hardware's in here. Well, I guess it's hardware news, but it's
business.
about the business of the hardware.
One story about space and then design.
Yeah.
And we'll start off. Of course, last week we talked about the big leak from AMD, and it seems like maybe after all of the press that got, some people were furiously building PowerPoints over at the Blue Team.
Anintech has this amazing article that you should check out. It is very long. It is insanely long. But Intel hosted something called Architecture Day 2018. It's like the future of the core Intel GPUs, the 10 nanometer process hybrid x86. There is more than we can get into there. But it's a lot of information about Intel's new processors and the whole 10 nanometer process. And if you read this, it looks like Intel is going to go chiplets, just like AMD. And they're going to have like a fancy x86 core and then some Atomish cores. And then they're going to package all that up. And they're going to have a smart interposer to connect it all that handles I/O, which, I mean, this seems really, really similar to AMD. They talked a little bit about 7 nanometer, Intel 7 nanometer process, not TSMC's and all this kind of stuff. But reading between the lines here, I think that Intel is overstating what they have for 10 nanometer. And one of the clues for that is from the article. Intel was talking about their 10 nanometer Xeon, and they're like, look, we have a 10 nanometer, socket 3647 Xeon. It's 10 nanometers. That's a big piece of silicon, and they didn't show it in any kind of operating capacity. So I think Intel was sort of misleading there until I see it actually working, because after the whole Computex thing. So, but they did have Raja Koduri and Jim Keller and some of the other people that had been hired away from AMD. So similar to AMD and the old AMD people. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting future for Intel.
The big move was to the Cove and away from the lake. Sunny Cove 10 nanometer will be the sort of the flagship for the new CPUs.
Deeper, wider, and faster, which again sounds like AMD. Like they're taking some architecture cues from AMD.
But they're also going to get a new generation of integrated graphics to go along with that, and it is actually going to be on par with some of AMD's offerings
at the low end.
Yeah, so maybe Intel integrated graphics won't be as much of a joke anymore.
As much of a joke.
They also did announce all the way up to 7 nanometers.
Yeah.
So they have a plan.
2021.
Will they be able to hit 7? Now, considering how long it's taken them to hit 10, which they haven't even really.
Yeah.
Maybe a little optimistic.
Yeah, I think that 10 nanometer is basically like they should just not even try and just go for 14 nanometer plus and skip straight to 7 nanometer. If 7 nanometer's on track.
They are pretending that this current generation of 10 nanometer and the integrated graphics just didn't happen.
For like the large businesses that are trying to buy 3647 Xeons, even on the 14 nanometer process, there's a shortage. Like they literally can't make enough on 14 nanometer. So 10 nanometer seems like a joke.
Well, yesterday we talked about Apple versus Qualcomm, and they're frenemies, and then they started to get back together, but then they didn't, and they're mad at each other again. And
the whole China ban thing.
Where is it all going to end? And Apple wants us to believe it's going to end with this.
Apple is making its own modem to compete with Qualcomm. So Qualcomm Communications is what Apple uses. We talked about the Intel 5G modem, but the modem from Intel was kind of dropped at the last minute or changed or something. So Apple wants to build their own communications modem, but I think Apple is going to be in for a surprise at just how hard that is.
Maybe they will actually make something. Like the title of that video from ages ago.
They've not proven to be good at that.
I would go so far as to say they have been proven to be abysmal at that. Like they can't even, like the new Mac Mini, the Intel, like before, like when the Mac Mini came out, there wasn't like the Intel NUC, and now there's the Intel NUC, and rather than like take the NUC and make a better NUC, they literally just screwed it all up.
Well, Google has faced some internal dissatisfaction,
to say the least, that we've covered the last few weeks.
First, there was the drone program. Not happy about that. Dragonfly came along. Really unhappy about that. And so now they've made an announcement that's probably based on all of this.
Don't forget the contractors. But yeah, Google has pledged to hold off on selling the facial recognition technology that they have. The company says that there's an important policy question that needs to be answered before they unleash this amazing facial recognition technology.
They have to let everyone talk, and then they will make sure that they forget about it, and then they'll release it.
Yeah, the important question is exactly how long do we have to wait before they'll forget this? So
we'll fire everybody that knows and replace them with temps.
After the new year, when everyone's trying to, get their fitness on, and then they'll...
Well, we talked about a lot yesterday about Chinese spying and all the Navy, and they're stealing all of our stuff. As usual, they're getting blamed. The Marriott Hotel. The Chinese are everywhere. But one place that they're not is Supermicro, according to their own internal review.
Reuters has this article that says Supermicro review found no malicious chips in motherboards. So again, There was that Bloomberg article. We did a video
There
on
were
it.
several. You know, they followed up on that like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
They kept saying, no, there really is.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, I don't know.
If there is something to that chip, it suggests that it's a supply chain issue. So, like, one contemplates that if you're on a cargo ship full of thousands of servers coming from mainland China or, Taiwan or somewhere to the United States, that's like a 2-week to 1 month to 6-week journey. I mean, that's plenty of time to go through the manifest and be like, okay, this package, this server in this container is going to go to this U.S. customer. Let's just modify this server on the container ship. I mean, how you'd have to do like supply chain stuff, like a full audit of the supply chain. That hasn't been done yet. But this is increasingly looking like Bloomberg got some major things wrong.
But your customers also said they looked at theirs
Yeah.
and didn't find it.
Yeah.
Of course, they might just not want people to know how bad it was. Who can you trust? The answer is no one.
Trust no one. That's like literally the X-Files, isn't it?
But what
No,
you
that's
can...
I want to believe. That's what you always have to. That's the poster.
Yeah, they actually were encouraging you to trust the theories.
The crackpot.
Yeah, don't trust the government, but you want to trust all the...
Well, we'll be talking about that later. That's the perfect segue into not this story, but a later story
But
about
what
the algorithm.
one thing that you can trust is the job market in Austin, Texas.
Apple's going to build $1 billion Austin campus and add thousands of U.S. jobs in this expansion. I wonder if they're planning to build another giant spaceship donut thing.
Well, Austin's like the new hipster city. Like, Portland is out. Austin and like San Antonio and all those places, those are in.
It's pretty humid there, though.
Yeah, but it was cheaper until all the people started moving there. And now it's getting expensive. And now Apple's building there, so it'll probably have the same problems places like Portland have with real estate.
I bet their Mexican restaurants are the bomb.
Yeah, I bet they are. That's Tex-Mex. That's good.
So much chicken and cheese. Oh, man.
Has Trump taken credit for this yet?
No, not yet.
Because it is moving jobs to America, right?
Yeah.
You know he's going to.
Well, they are a $1 trillion company, right? I mean,
They did pay $30 billion in taxes, I think, or maybe it was $30 million, to move the money back to the U.S. to do all this.
neat.
So I'm sure that'll be used efficiently by our government. Well, speaking of Google, the Google CEO had to testify, and he talked about a variety of topics, and one of them is maybe a little disturbing when it comes to YouTube content.
It's like the I want to believe thing I was just talking about. So the Google CEO has admitted that the company must better address the spread of conspiracy theories on YouTube. If you actually listen to everything that he was telling the senators, a lot of the time they were telling him bad things, and he's like, that's the algorithm. And then they were telling him good things, and he's like, that is also the algorithm. But this would seem, and he was saying that right now, humans do not manipulate the algorithm at all. And some of the people in the video said, it's like, I don't believe you that humans do not manipulate the algorithm. That seems impossible. And this seems to be one place where at least some of those policymakers were right, because YouTube, in order to be better, is going to have to do this non-algorithmically, which...
They kind of already do, though.
Yeah.
Like, if you ever see certain things, like if you look up, like, moon landing and then watch a video, it'll actually pull up, like, a little Wikipedia link at the bottom, and it's like, learn more about the moon landing on Wikipedia. This is a real thing. Like,
I wonder if that's algorithmic, though, because a lot of the conspiracy theories, like, you don't know it's a conspiracy theory until somebody flags it as such, and then you can get those things.
could be.
Have you guys ever heard of Frazzle Drip? I hadn't either. Apparently, Frazzle Drip expounds on Pizzagate, but blames Hillary Clinton and what's Anthony Weiner's wife's name? Huma
Yeah.
Abedin or something like that. That they not only sexually assaulted young girls, but drank their blood.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. I knew that. That was in there.
But before I read that article, I'd never heard of that.
Yeah, no,
So-
I didn't. That article quickly wandered into made-up news territory so fast, I was just like,
Could get a little bit like whiplash, like, whoa.
But that was an example of what they were talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't
Yeah.
saying that actually happened.
Yeah.
They're saying that was one of the things.
They're just
that-
implying. It was the implication.
Well, did you see the CNET recording? I mean, the winks and the eye nudges, it could be legit now.
Now, I think Hillary Clinton knows damn well that you don't drink the blood. You have to inject it. So I don't believe that at all. That's
Didn't we
fake
do
news.
a story about that nonsense where like that was a thing that they were trying to convince people to do for anti-aging?
Yeah.
There was the best one I've seen, and I don't know how true it is, but I think she tweeted was the woman from those werewolf movies. She's a vampire, and she's in love with a woman.
Oh.
She's gorgeous, like one of the best looking women in the world.
Wait.
Anyway,
I was going to say Twilight, but that's not.
Kate Beckinsale. Have you never seen those movies?
I haven't even seen this one.
She's the vampire, and she never mind.
Someone in the
point
comments
is-
will tell us.
No, but I mean, she's like just famous for her beauty. I would think that you would know her for that. Anyway, she supposedly got a facial treatment that was composed of an elixir rendered from young boys' removed foreskins.
Wow.
Ew.
Yeah, ew is right.
Now that we're all feeling a little bit icky, let's move on to the next story.
Well, Microsoft, when it comes to Microsoft's updates, it's a little bit of a gamble. And you might say that it's a little bit of a gamble like playing Russian roulette with 3 chambers loaded. And when it comes to firmware updates, it seems like that's still true.
Microsoft has acknowledged the Surface Pro 4 firmware issues and offers replacement. So if you have a broken Surface Pro 4 display thanks to a faulty firmware update, Microsoft is letting you know that, hey, we're going to fix it. This is touchscreen problems. This is display problems. Otherwise, apparently the firmware, something goes wrong with it, and they just have to replace the device. Which is surprising that they screwed up a firmware update that badly. Well, not really. I mean, let's be honest. It's Microsoft.
I like that you corrected yourself like mid-sentence there. You're like, eh.
Well, we love to talk about Tesla and Mr. Elon Musk around here. And this is Business Insider has a very interesting article that I think he definitely disputes it, but will he dispute it to the level of like litigation or an attack like that? Because it doesn't paint him in a very good light.
Business Insider reports that Tesla employees were reportedly told not to walk past Elon Musk's desk because of his wild firing rampages. And they go on to describe some of those wild firing rampages. And you should read that because it's fun. But the thing that's even more fun is Tesla's response to that, which reads like it was actually written by Elon Musk.
I would never do such a
I'm
thing.
sure it was. But yeah, they claimed that some days he would show up and just announce that he was
There's Boiler Snake.
Boiler Snake actually defends Musk. He hates it when we say bad things about Musk. He's like, no, he's a visionary. He's going to take us to Mars. Boiler Snake really actually wants to go to Mars, which is weird.
Well, they're the same sort of sandy, coppery color.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's why he chose that color. But yeah, the Musk apparently would just take. This was during the production hell time, and when he would get frustrated, he would take it out on the underlings. And it got so bad that they wouldn't walk past his desk.
Yeah.
Because he might literally just like pick you out. And,
Yeah, like a stray bullet.
One of the stories talks about how he was confused by something and he just went into some sort of impotent rage and fired the guy. And the guy was like, I'm trying to help you, but I don't understand what you're
wasn't
asking.
it literally like a vending machine was broken?
Some kind of thing. But
Yeah.
his rage is not impotent. It's quite potent.
Yeah.
He really is just, playing with people's lives.
Well, it's not potent in the way of like solving problems. Like, will firing somebody actually solve the problem, or is it just random? Pretty random.
Well, we also talked about back during the wild days where Tesla was in the news every week. One of the things we talked about was the remanufactured batteries and the graveyard of Teslas. Remember those pictures and the drone photos and stuff like that? Well, it turned out one guy was behind a lot of that quote unquote whistleblowing.
We talked about him several times.
And Musk has a response to that as well.
CNBC is saying that Tesla is seeking $167 million in damages from that former employee. And this is stock prices, apparently. Like, I tried to read this and understand, like, how did that guy cause $167 million of damage? Musk actually refers to him as a saboteur, but it seems to be that they're really talking about the stock price in the lawsuit.
But the stock price rebounded in every case.
Yeah.
So, I mean, wasn't Musk himself the greatest saboteur of the stock price?
One would think.
What does he owe? But
Not much.
I don't know how all this played out, but that guy was definitely part of like the short seller brigade, and his predictions did not come true because a lot of his predictions were
That they were never going to hit that Model 3 production.
and the stock was just going to tumble. Yeah. So now I'm not saying he wasn't right about the batteries or all the other stuff, but whatever is or is not true from all that, they seem to have gotten through it. for now at least.
And they're making Model 3s at a pretty brisk pace and making a lot of money from it because the initial investment period is over.
Well, Robinhood is a super popular app because it lets you trade stocks and even options now at no cost, no commission cost for the trades. How do they do it? They steal your data, but they're upfront about stealing your data. And man, it's probably not a terrible trade-off if you're a big stock trader. But they've also announced some new features that got them into a little bit of trouble, maybe.
They announced new checking services where you can have an interest-bearing checking account. Remember those? Those were all the rage in the late 80s and early 90s, and then pretty much disappeared like the dinosaur. 3% interest on a checking account, except...
that might be the savings account.
Or savings account. But the FDIC was like, wait a minute. And they're like, no, we're not. This is not a deposit account. We have this other insurance. But the other insurance company was like, yeah, we're not insuring that.
Hold on there, buckaroo.
Yeah.
Now, SIPC will insure if you deposit money for your securities trading. But if you're depositing money just for checking and savings, they want no part of that.
Yeah. So, that seemed like a cool feature that Robinhood was going to roll out, but maybe you're just not protected in the same way that you would expect if you were using this as a checking and savings account.
Yeah, and they have announced, I think, that they're withdrawing it for now, but they seemed confident that they would eventually roll it out.
It's just a paperwork thing with this whole 3%. Yeah, it's fine.
Robinhood, they actually did a really good job of, in the early days of Robinhood, the problem with it, it's not really a problem, but after you would do a trade, it had to go through the clearinghouse before you could ever use your money again, which could take like 5 to 7 days. And that's called writing for free because then you'd be spending somebody else's money. Anyway, they got that shortened down a little bit. So they seem to be able to actually work through all this stuff. And just goes to show you that the big trading platforms are fleecing you for so much money because it doesn't cost that much to do all that stuff. Well, let's talk about things that don't weigh very much and a record-breaking anorexia.
Laptop Magazine has the new LG Gram. It's the lightest 17-inch laptop ever at just 3 pounds. 3 pounds for a 17-inch laptop with an edge-to-edge screen. I mean, it's going to be smaller than most traditional 17-inch laptops, but at only 3 pounds, I really want to get one of these and try it.
I was less impressed until I realized 17-inch. I was like, oh, that's actually pretty big. And for that weight, that's fantastic.
And that is no slouch either. That'll get you an i7, 16 gigs of RAM, and a 512 gig SSD. You get an additional slot, but of course, adding another SSD is going to add more than 3 pounds of weight. Not much, obviously.
Yeah, just a few grams.
If you're looking to go ultra light, you might skip, but.
And that will be a 2560 by 1600 17-inch. So
that's pretty good.
Impressive.
72 watt-hour battery. They said was good for up to 19 hours. So really, probably about 8 or 10 hours. That's impressive.
Did they announce a price on that? I didn't see.
I think they.
I did not. I don't remember the price.
Maybe have not. Oh, $16.99.
That doesn't seem terrible.
Yeah. You know what's going to be really nice is how light that is for the porch pirates when they take it off your porch this holiday season. It's just going to.
That would have been a good segue into a later story.
They're going to be like, "Is this an empty box?" And then they get it home and they're so excited.
They're like, "Oh, a laptop."
Yeah.
Well, when you get a new laptop, don't install a bunch of crap on it. In fact, it's probably got a bunch of crap on it you need to uninstall. But one thing that you can get that's not complete garbage is Microsoft 365.
Oh.
Controversial.
Comment time.
Unless you're going to install Linux.
Actually,
in which case that would be even better.
Yeah, but this is, well, I mean, do we want it as a subscription, though? I don't think we do.
Microsoft is, it's Windows 10, Office 365, Skype, Cortana, Outlook Mo. A lot of that's free. Microsoft 365, they're also planning on including a whole bunch of other stuff. The vision that Microsoft has for this, for its end game, I don't see as completely terrible for normal people, except for the whole like data mining aspect and being really abusive and that kind of thing. But Microsoft wants it to be like iCloud, so that when you sign into a new device, all your stuff just comes and it's good. They want the same iCloud experience.
All your stuff will come except for the settings where you told it to stop spying on you.
Yeah, basically. I mean, you don't even get that between updates. It's like, oh, I need to update the virus definitions. Oh, I've updated the virus definitions, but now my privacy preferences are reset again. What's going on with that?
Well, you clearly made some bad choices.
Yeah. We're going to talk about the clicking the update button later too.
Well, a major milestone in the television world is, I don't know. I mean, do you think this is the tipping point, or has that already happened?
I think it's already happened.
If the world of television were a patient, this would be like the last bypass. You just got another bypass. We literally can't do any more bypass surgery. This is like
This would be another symptom developing.
the last road marker on the march to death.
This is right before they give you just a basket of morphine and send you to hospice.
This is full body sepsis.
So the number of streaming shows that are made for streaming is what Variety means. Has surpassed basic cable for the first time ever. So more shows are made for streaming now than for cable television and broadcast.
Commercial television.
And we're not including reality TV shows in that.
This was scripted television shows. Now,
Not to say that reality shows aren't scripted.
they are
but
definitely, but they don't get counted because supposedly those people are just doing that stuff and they're not being scripted for it. So a little bit of a caveat, but still, that's a major milestone.
It is.
Yeah, so
It's a major milestone in the death of television. Like, television is not going to be a thing anymore. Like, we still have, with the invention of television, we still have radio, but with internet, the internet is going to supplant television and radio.
well, I think radio has
a niche.
it's in your car, and television isn't, and it won't be. But now that I can get data in my car, I can just stream from my phone. I never listen to the radio.
Oh, see, I listen to the Christmas station this time of year.
No.
I
Actually-
turned that on December 1st, and I listened to it all through December.
So I just bought 2
Christmas CDs.
Chevy vehicles in the last 6 months. Both of them come with that little brochure. It's like, oh, hey, get you 3 months of Sirius satellite radio. Hell, we'll give you 6. Right in the trash. Not interested. I don't care if it is free. I don't want it.
My mom wanted it for a while, and then I
Speaking
got
of
her an
things-
iPod, and it was like, nope, over.
Speaking of things that are trash.
That are
and
going right into the trash.
Variety has another article that IMAX is shutting down its VR business, closing the remaining 3 VR centers in Q1. So IMAX theaters, they were, sort of a thing. They made VR theaters, and no one wants to watch VR.
Because who wants to be in that sweaty face mask that someone else wore like 20 minutes ago?
I bet they give you like one of those little socks when you try on shoes. Something like that, right?
Put over your head.
They had that at the VR booths at Computex. Like you would. It was like it was like the toilet thing. You know how like you pull the toilet ring out of a box and then it's like the napkin. That's,
Oh, okay.
It was like
Seat
that,
cover.
but it was for VR goggles, and
Yeah,
it was
but-
pretty effective. I
But
used it.
effective, but like when you're trying to like eat popcorn and enjoy a movie, are you always going to be like cognizant of like little edges of paper and
Yeah,
But I don't think it was the germophobia that killed it. It was just the fact that
it was terrible.
people don't care about VR.
it's kind of gimmicky. I think
Yeah.
for a movie, most movies probably aren't really optimized for it.
Well, I really did think that maybe VR was going to have staying power where, 3D TV didn't. But it's really not catching on. So, I don't know. Maybe we're just not there yet. It's got to be cooler.
Well, I think too, some people get motion sickness as well.
That is a big one. Yeah, I've never tried it to know. That would be sad if VR turned out to be the coolest thing ever and then you just get motion sick from it.
We got what was the game we played? Oh, it was Half-Life.
I did not originally get when I originally played
Half-Life 2.
Half-Life and Half-Life 2. I did not get motion sick, but I was violently ill.
It's
after
something
that.
with the FOV,
Well,
but me and Wendell both got sick.
But
when
you
we
got to
played it on
remember,
stream.
Half-Life was CRT.
I wonder if that's related.
I bet it is.
I'll have to dig up a CRT from the basement.
Now, if you Google the issue, like lots of people reported that problem.
Could also be engine conversion because that's not the original engine.
That's right. Well, speaking of games, I had no clue that Discord, the chat program, sold video games.
They do. There's like a home screen when you turn on Discord. It'll pop up and it'll be like, "Hey, here's the games we have on sale."
I thought that was just affiliate links
who
to like
knew?
GOG.
I never actually clicked one, so
But good news if you want to sell your game on there because they are now the lowest or highest price in town when it comes to your share of the revenue.
They're going to give developers 90% of game revenues for games that they advertise and host and whatever.
That's in comparison with Steam's 70 and Epic's, 80?
88.
Was it 88? Yeah, 12%. So, I don't know. I don't think I would purchase a game from Discord.
I'm not sure if I would either. But if they keep doing like really good things like that, they might.
But this doesn't help you at all.
It doesn't help, but some people really care about that sort of stuff. So
Well, if you're doing some holiday shopping, I guess maybe this was last year's hot item, but maybe now you could finally find one in stock, is the NES and SNES mini consoles. And those have been big sellers for Nintendo. So they did the obvious thing.
Nintendo warns it's not going to make more retro SNES and NES consoles.
These are... We can't make enough of these things. They're just selling off the shelves. Stop immediately.
I think that they're doing that on purpose. I think that their whole niche is like games that you loved as a kid, and like, you know, you're always pursuing, you know, that feeling again. So it's like they'll give you that taste and they pull it away. They take it away. Like the Disney Vault.
It is just a taste because you got what, like 30 games?
Yeah.
Those things? And they weren't even the best 30 games.
And they just keep you hooked that way. And then they'll re-release it like a year or two from now, and then they'll release a few more games with it, and it's like, well, I have to get
a
that
different
now.
30.
They'll combine the NES and the SNES and be like, look, it's the Super
And
Famines.
And they'll make it a different color.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But,
Release it in different colors.
Or they could want you to buy the ROMs directly on the internet.
yeah, the virtual console on the Switch is rolling out, or already has probably.
So you're taking a dump on them, but I think they're actually, from a business standpoint, not from like a consumer friendliness standpoint. Business only, they're being smart.
The virtual console games are like $5 plus.
That's a lot.
When these are all free?
It's brand equity.
Segue.
Huawei is getting thrown under the bus by T-Mobile and Sprint.
Again. Yeah. So CNBC, so T-Mobile and Sprint are merging. They're the number 3 and 4 wireless provider in America. They're trying to get government approval to merge.
They're in the mating dance portion
from
of the
4
merger.
to 3, and it's like, oh, is this creating a monopoly? Is this bad for consumers? Well, to try to sweeten the deal with the U.S. government, they said, hey, you know, we've noticed you guys have something going on with Huawei, so we'll stop carrying Huawei devices if that'll make you guys let us merge. What a strange mating ritual.
I don't know if the government has responded to this
sexy
at
at
all, but it is an interesting thing to float for for them to get their way. I could see Trump being spiteful enough to consider that.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to cost. It's like we need American phone companies to do stuff to get all the money. Okay, but you realize that like making a computer is a global operation. Like there's some of it's done in China, some of it's done in Germany, some of it's mined from the beaches of North Carolina. Some of it, I don't know. It's a worldwide operation.
Well, we've got a lot of stuff going into space recently. The old SpaceX rockets are going off like clockwork. They seem to have figured it out. And you've got, evil supervillain Bezos right behind them with his Blue Origin?
Blue Origin, yeah.
His Blue Origin rockets. But one thing that neither of them have done is to put a human up there.
Well, Virgin Galactic has done that now. They've reached the edge of space at just over 82 kilometers, as reported by the BBC. So that's the space plane, and they're going to be taking space tourists to the edge of space in the space plane.
Could you say space a couple more times?
Please, yeah. You forgot to mention they also took a dummy up in this.
So there's 2 pilots. I imagine there's a pilot in each of these sections.
Yeah.
And then the dummy simulated the paying customer.
He's hanging out in that big, cool chamber there.
The business model here is space tourism. Now, 80 kilometers is considered where they will give you astronaut wings. The American government, that is. But a lot of people say that 100 kilometers is the edge of space. So
Commercial airline traffic is at 30 kilometers.
you could say that Virgin didn't go all the way.
Oh, level 1. Oh.
And here we enter into the design section.
This is I included this story just because I knew you guys would make fun of it.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
It's the color of the year.
From Pantone, which is a color swatch library.
The color swatch.
The color
library.
swatch library. So this last year's I think was a purpley tone. This year is a living coral.
They've changed their website.
Do you think that this fish was maybe like gently dyed so that it perfectly fit the color?
Oh yeah, yeah, that was color corrected.
I'll say color corrected. Probably not dyed.
Yeah, they've made the entire website and the menus and everything this living coral. And let's look at their description.
Their
here.
copy is just absolutely fantastic.
Krista, is there any chance you can read that?
No, you're gonna have to control press it for me.
I can try. Color is an equalizing lens through which we experience our natural and digital realities, and this is particularly true for living coral. With consumers craving human interaction and social connection, the humanizing and heartwarming qualities displayed by this convivial, is that right? Yeah.
Convivial.
By the convivial Pantone living coral hit a responsive chord. Wow.
That's a lot
That's
of
a
marketing
lot of
speak.
words, and I didn't really glean anything out of that.
No,
What does
that's
it
like
mean?
reading an artist statement.
I hate it when you're in a meeting like that, and it's like, just tell me, give me the color code, like number sign, like
Now, I am kind of
number sign, and then some numbers. What are the
Hex
numbers?
code.
I need some numbers.
now, of course, I'm kind of crapping on this a little bit because it's very pretentious. But you will probably see a lot of these colors start appearing in designs and in like home decor and just everywhere over the next year.
Oh, it's so pretty.
I hope this fish gets a lot more work, modeling.
This was his big break. Was the Pantone website video?
Yeah. They didn't. I think they talked about. Do they have like runners up or anything?
No, I don't understand how
here's
they
the
picked
past.
it. Yeah,
Here we
they have
go.
the past. This year was purple. 2017 was
Wait a
like
minute.
the green.
How is it purple if? Oh, this is the coming year.
Yes,
Oh,
2019
19. Okay.
is going to be.
Well,
yeah.
I feel like. How do you know what the color of the year is before that year's happened?
Because Pantone declares that color, and then manufacturers are like, "Yes, we'll make everything."
They're
that color."
very like pink and purple seems to be overrepresented.
So right now in design trends, like that pale pink from 2016, I don't know if they can see it on the screen. That's called millennial pink. You'll see that a lot in web design right now.
Okay. Well,
That's some interesting trivia for those of you who probably don't really care. But
and now I didn't include the story, but did you guys see that Heart of the Swarm, Blizzard Activision has unexpectedly canceled esports.
What? For the Heart of the Swarm?
Heart of the
Really?
Swarm will no longer
Oh.
have esports,
Interesting.
which will probably lead a lot of people over to League of Legends.
Because it's in a league of their own? Is that the headline?
yeah. So they redid their branding, which I don't think this is effective at all.
Well, I
Like
don't
if you just look
understand-
at it, you don't really you don't have the connection to League of Legends.
It's more about Europe. It's not about League of Legends. It's about European pride.
Is that why it's a crown?
I guess it's very generic sport. Like this could be any tournament. Like this could be something put out by Nike.
It kind of looks like the Sauron crown from the Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah, his weird thing that they did in the movies.
Oh, this is animated. Look at that.
Animated logo is very popular right now. But yeah, I think it's fine as an application. I just don't think nothing about it to me really screams League of Legends. But
What would, though?
they have a logo. They didn't use any of the
Oh.
branding from the logo.
Is this like magic?
There are probably abilities in the game. I would think they could just be things. I'm not sure.
Is this a character?
Illustrations.
That's ridiculous.
Draven Bloodblack.
Oh. Serious fonts.
Now some of these look like they're
That's
probably
kinda cool.
more specific.
These are definitely characters, right?
Yeah. Or abilities of some sort.
Yeah, League of Legends, not a thing that we care about.
Yeah.
I can't get into esports. But, hey, do they really? Is this a real thing? Do they
No.
put these
Yes,
on?
yes, they absolutely do.
Wait, in New York?
No, in
this is
like
EU.
Taiwan. So
But
Oh.
this is Europe.
okay, well,
Yeah, this is a European tournament. Well, this is pretty common in design mock-ups. Like you get like fake posters, like a stock image, and then you put in your own posters into it.
there is stuff like that in Taiwan.
What
for
about
sure.
this?
Yes,
Is this
there
real?
there is stuff like that in Taiwan.
See, but look how small. Like, would you know that was anything to do with the League of Legends stuff if you weren't familiar with the branding?
I would have to already be familiar with the crown, otherwise it's gonna
Yeah.
be like, I don't know what this is.
I mean, I guess if you're super into the game, it's probably fine. But
Is the crown going to be around forever,
or is it just for this tournament? That's another question.
Yeah, if it's like just this year or just this season, that's dumb. It's
Yeah.
really dumb.
Of course, the crown is forever, Wendell. How could you say that? Long live the queen.
How old is the queen?
Very old.
She's
She's in her 80s, right?
Yeah.
Gotta be. Got to be.
It is a testament to the miracle of modern medicine.
She's on that Hillary Clinton blood drinking.
No, I was just thinking, she's probably got really great doctors who are on her butt all the time.
You know what the algorithm has trouble with? Sarcasm. The algorithm is like, nope, that's a demonetization right there. That's fake news.
We might get it. We might get it for mentioning that.
Well, if we don't get it for that one, we certainly will for Friday's nonsense section.
Oh, the
So
nonsense
join us
is,
then.
it's really like it's if you're in a bad mood because family's around because of the holidays, you're not going to want to miss the nonsense episode.
And then take a look at some living coral stuff, and you'll be like, wow, I feel...
Calm
what were
right
some of the
down.
words in that
This
word
Humanity.
soup?
is making me
Humanity,
happy.
yeah.
I don't think there's any.
What was the other word that was in there? Vivisection? No.
No, it was a word that we didn't recognize at first. We just read it, and I've already forgotten it.
I know the
It was a new word. We should look
That's
it
what
up.
it's-
Word of
that's
the
what it's doing
day.
to my
I know
brain.
that word, but yeah, it's convivial.
Yeah.
So convivial, I think, is like welcoming you to my home and being a good host.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Convenio in Latin. Okay, yeah.
All right. We'll give you a convivial welcome on Friday.
Woo!
Bye.
Oh, it's a palindrome.
Today is the 21st of December. You have almost no time to get your Christmas shopping done, so hurry up and get it done.
It's going to be a rough day of shopping if you're going today.
Well, yeah, or I don't think you can even order stuff on Amazon this close now, right? Like, it would be a tight deadline.
Yeah, you can do the one day. It's going to cost you, though.
It would have to be from Amazon, and those poor people are going to have to work the weekend, and delivery services are operating Monday.
Yeah. I bet you could get one day on most of the stuff on Prime.
Is it Monday? What day is Christmas? Is actually
Tuesday. Yeah.
Tuesday.
Oh, man.
Yeah. It's rough.
You don't like that?
No, I was just thinking
People
that'll be
have
the
to work
level 1
Mondays.
news day.
Yeah. Most people are not working Monday because no.
Yeah.
Well, it's Christmas Eve, yeah.
But a lot of services are working Monday, unfortunately. So
It's funny when you drive through at the fast food places and you look at the little calendar that they have up for holiday hours, and some of them are like, open Christmas. And it's like, you poor bastards.
Oh, I know. I don't know a lot of restaurants that stay open on Christmas Day.
I've seen Sonic is open
Really?
on Christmas. Yeah.
That's sad.
Well, getting on to the actual news. Today is security news and nonsense and
There's something else. Robots?
No, we already
Well,
did
we have
robots.
we have a robot story.
Oh, it might be
nonsense.
social. Did we do social yet?
I don't even
I
know.
don't know.
Stick around
We
and
just
find out.
filmed it.
We don't know.
But the first thing we're going to talk about is, actually, we talked about earlier in the week the Windows firmware update, and of course we talked about before the Windows would delete your files with the October update. So it seems like maybe a bad idea to get Windows updates and beta updates. Well, that would just be suicide, right? So you better make sure you don't do that. Oh wait,
Digital Trends has this article that says hitting check for updates in Windows 10 opts you into beta releases. So technically the headline is slightly misleading. It turns out beta is a little bit of a spectrum here. And if you hit check for updates, it gets you updates that are in late stage beta.
it puts you on the spectrum.
It will definitely make you angry. So yeah, that seems weird that the user interface would do that. It seems like it's punishing you. It's like, oh, you think you need an update, do you? Well, you help us test
We'll
these
show you.
updates.
Yeah.
Well, you could argue that even when they're not in that beta, they're still beta because they're not tested until they roll them out to the users who test them.
Seems like a terrible way to conduct your operating system.
I don't know. It seems to be working for them. It's not costing them any money, and
They're raking it. They don't have all those people they have to hire anymore.
what's anybody doing about it?
Literally nothing.
Nothing. And what's anybody doing about porch piracy? You know, if you order your packages right now, you better be there to pick them up, or somebody else will. But luckily,
Crumpus.
Amazon's got your back.
MarketWatch has this article that says Amazon's strategy to foil porch pirates with facial recognition hints at a dangerous future, say critics. So, yeah, like, the Ring doorbells? I got news from MarketWatch. They already do this. Ring will totally already just send you an email to be like, somebody's at your door.
Yeah, but it doesn't run it through Amazon's facial recognition, which is what they're suggesting.
Well, I mean, do we know that for sure?
Well, it's not telling you, but the idea
Guarantee
here,
it is.
the idea here is that Amazon will notify you and be like, "Hey, here's a weird person that we've never seen before." And then if you go through later and like that was a pirate, Now they're in the database.
Not only are they already in the database, whether you want it to be or not, they're right next to that file that had Aaron Swartz in it that we learned about earlier in the week.
Oh no, it's like our Parkitect file with the people with the backwards hats. Those are always vandals, except when they're not. And then you kick them out of your park.
Well, the thing about it is, you never know when they're going to turn.
Yeah, they start kicking over trash cans and stuff.
You think there's ever been a porch pirate of opportunity where, like, they're at your house for something else,
and they're like, you know what, I'll steal this.
but they see all those boxes and they're like, I got to do it.
What else would they be at your house
This
for?
is a message from on high telling me
To steal the packages from the
these
board.
I was just walking my dog, but now I need to steal this.
Well, it's not often, semi-often, but not nearly as often as the competitors that we talk about, Linux malware.
Ziff Davis, ZDNet, has the article that ESET has discovered 21 new Linux malware families. Now, the good news is that all of these involve Trojans to open SSH, which means that your system has been very deeply rooted. So it's going to be real hard to go from, just a simple WordPress exploit or something like that to complete system takeover. You really have to screw up your config or be running really old vulnerable kernels in order for this to be a thing. But yeah, there's apparently 21 compromised versions of OpenSSH in the wild that no one was paying attention to before that are part of some sort of botnet.
Here's the crazy thing about it. You think, well, how do we find out about this? It's those security researchers, right? No. It turns out the 22nd OpenSSH vulnerability scans for these other 21 so they can get rid of them and put itself in their place. So some guy noticed that and he was like, hey, we've never heard of these other 21. Let's add them to the list. So good job.
Some criminal underworld thing is way ahead of the antivirus industry.
Yeah.
Oh, what happened to this site?
This is terrible.
That does not look good in tablet.
It's another ESET article. So somebody's some design fail here.
I was really impressed with it in desktop. Now that we've made it sized for the OBS window,
Android Trojan steals money from PayPal accounts, even with two-factor on. And so the way that it does that is because it's an Android Trojan. Of course, if your phone has been compromised, the two-factor that's running on your phone is compromised. This is not news, but I guess normies don't realize this.
This waits for you to open the PayPal account, and it uses that to sort of, usurp the two-factor and get you to agree to the wrong two-factor. And that sounds kind of crazy, right? That sounds like it's something new and cutting edge.
that's why we have another story
Oh,
about
but
it.
the Iranians are doing it too.
Ars Technica. Iranian phishers bypass the two-factor protections offered by Yahoo Mail and Gmail. The group has breached SMS-protected accounts, and they're testing attacks against two-factor apps. So
Works pretty much the same way, but you're going to get these verification codes, which are clicky. So one way around this is you never want to click the verification code. You want to go to the website and punch it in. But I'm not sure that would save you in this scenario.
yeah, you're not supposed to click at all. You're supposed to already be on the website that's demanding the code. So
And
you don't click it. It's just there.
But that's how they get around it. So you cannot count on two-factor. Of course, we talked about that before. SMS itself is not secure. Two-factor is not secure. Nothing will save you. You're doomed.
You need a separate burner phone that only does two-factor, and that is the least unsafe.
Well, when it comes to ransomware, we think about enterprise, big businesses, desktops.
Container ships.
Encrypt your files and stuff like that. But yeah, you don't think about the maritime applications. But sure enough,
Yeah, we learned that the Navy was having a problem with this, but it turns out the commercial shipping industry has already been lost. Yeah, ships infected with ransomware, USB malware, and worms. It's, cybersecurity incidents are on the rise, and it's making it impossible to do, overseas shipments because the computers that run the ships, the container ships, are all infected and don't work.
this article has a lot of anecdotes, which are interesting, on all the various ways that these things have been compromised and all the different ship systems that have gotten. There was one case where the ships didn't even bother with charts because why would you? You get this amazing navigation, but then it gets ransomwared.
What a good movie that would be when we were organizing the stories. Like, they're out to sea, just doing a routine run, and then all of a sudden, we have no navigation, sir. And then it's like the rest of the movie is like a thriller horror.
There is a little bit of communication at sea, but it's typically like only a little bit faster than dial-up and crazy expensive. So like your gigabytes of Windows updates while at sea, that ain't happening.
Well, if you don't, if everything's infected, you have no navigation whatsoever if you don't have a backup chart.
Well, they also talk about the vector that some of these come in, and a lot of times it's not the ship that's doing anything wrong. But when you pull into a port, you got to let customs people in. You got to let the actual people you're doing business with to deliver the goods and all that, and those people are bringing in infections. Probably hepatitis A as well.
We discovered more restaurants in our area have been infected with Hep A, and it's bad news.
It's almost like we live in a kind of a backwater town.
Backwater because no one washes their hands.
Gray water. Well, so hey, rather than two-factor, right? Rather than that, why don't we do facial recognition as our second password?
That's not secure.
I think it is. How are you going to beat it?
With a 3D printed head.
Which all of us have lying around.
Now, I feel like these guys cheated a little bit because apparently in London, there's just a shop that can do this. And so he went to the shop in London and had a 3D scan of his face taken, which it seems like, are you going to trick somebody into doing that? I don't know.
You're like the jealous boyfriend or girlfriend and you get them to come in there so you can unlock their phone when they're in the shower.
I think the Chinese government could get that same level of
fidelity.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing about it. I think the LG phone got an update while they were trying to do this, which greatly improved it. There was also a setting on some of the phones that was like you can do quick or you can do slow. They were using quick, and slow was much harder. But here's the crazy thing about it, and I'm as surprised as the rest of you. Apple, they couldn't trick it.
Interesting.
Apple was completely... I was like, no, bro, that's a 3D printed head. I've seen that before.
I've seen that. And yet Apple would get
I can tell by some of
relatives
the pixels.
mixed up, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, you kind of just maybe don't use it.
But I think they've improved it since then. So...
I wonder if Apple specifically tested with 3D printed heads.
That would be hilarious.
What a bizarre use case.
That would be such a cool job.
Why do you have 3D printed Steve Jobs heads in your office? And it's like, it's for this thing that I'm working on.
Why are they in jars of formaldehyde?
It's like, no, one of them is actually Steve Jobs' head, but these other ones we printed. We do use it for testing.
We're going to try to bring him back to life Walt Disney style.
And that's going to be when we have to have, that's when we have to go to Bezos and give him the entire defense budget to protect us from reanimated Steve Jobs.
I would be more scared of Disney, but
that is the first event that is really the marker on the march to the Warhammer 40K universe, like that event.
Wait, is Steve Jobs the God Emperor?
Yeah, when his corpse is reanimated and then it's like the line between man and machine is blurred.
Well, the Italians had some problems at their oil and gas company that's reminiscent of the Stuxnet kind of thing. Although I don't think this was state-sponsored, just some good old-fashioned malware.
The Shamoon malware has destroyed data at an Italian oil and gas company. Now, see, this looks like it's like ransomware, but it's actually deleting stuff. So maybe it is state-sponsored, or maybe it's like some nation state that just got a hold of the tools but doesn't really know how to use them.
It doesn't delete it. It just writes garbage over top of it.
Yeah.
So the files are still there. And you go in and you're like,
okay, everything's fine.
Let's just pay the ransom. But no.
Yeah.
There is no getting it back. It's just nonsense that's been written in place of it. So.
Well, the story that we covered about that last year, I think, was it was made to look like it was botched ransomware, but it was deliberate that it was deleting everything. Like they figured that out somehow.
I don't think it stopped them from delivering oil and gas, but it definitely cost them some money. So, unfortunate. Also unfortunate is, most of the time your Bitcoin scam is going to encrypt your files. And that's a bad day. But it's not the end of the world. But this one threatened the literal end of the world.
This Gizmodo article is talking about dozens of bomb threats reported across America. And this is the FBI actually came out with a statement on this, and they're like, "No, we think this is just spam, basically."
Well, how embarrassing if it didn't turn out to be fake for the FBI.
So companies were getting ransom demands, and it was like, "We're gonna set off a bomb or something in your office unless you pay this Bitcoin ransom." So that was really big news last week, and a lot of people were freaking out. A lot of non-technical people were freaking out.
Yeah, I would, but like. If you just think about it a little bit, it's like, okay, I'm going to pay your ransom, But then what are you going to do? Come and get the bomb? That's too risky. The bomb's still going to be there even if I pay you. I mean, are you not going to trigger it?
There'll be less evidence if you detonate it. I mean,
That's true. Yeah. So
Well, I think anytime someone calls in a bomb threat, I think you kind of have to take it seriously. Like, you can't just be like, it's unlikely that it's real. Like, I'm willing to roll those dice.
you always see those stories where like somebody's not ready for a final and they call in the bomb threat. They always get caught. Don't do that.
don't do that.
Well, WordPress has a bit of an embarrassing bomb of their own this week.
WordPress 5 is out, in case you had not heard. WordPress 5 is a flaming dumpster fire of bugs and terribleness. And so WordPress has plugged a bug that led to Google indexing some user passwords. This was the like welcome new account screen kind of a thing. But actually, there's the WordPress update from 5 to 5.0.1 fixes like a bunch, like 7 or 9 different problems that are security problems, like immediately off the bat. So glad to know that moving from WordPress 4 to WordPress 5, they're still terrible at security.
They might be on the Microsoft bug testing plan.
It's honestly, having had to work on so many WordPress sites, I think that WordPress's security is worse than Microsoft's, and that's an impressive accomplishment.
We don't recommend WordPress in this office. We have a few sites we maintain, but we do not recommend it.
It's not the terrible thing about WordPress is that it's not a terrible user experience, but it's just
It's more of a headache for us.
yeah.
And we like to set it and forget it as much as possible.
I mean, you can't even trust the automatic update thing to work properly. It's just so frustrating.
Well, you might have a little time off this holiday season. What are you going to do with that time off? Many of you will turn to porn.
Quartz has an article about that, and they did some analysis, like what type of analytics are these porn sites collecting? And it turns out that it's a lot. It's more analytics than even Netflix or anything like that. In fact, the porn industry might be driving the next generation of analytics packages that ad agencies are going to use because, I mean, I'm like, this is, I'm not even mad. This is actually fascinating.
The clickbait here says this is what they do with it, kind of implying something bad. They do A/B testing with it.
Well, they do a lot more than that. But the amazing thing about this article is that MindGeek, I bet there's a Geek Mind, and they're like, no. But MindGeek owns YouPorn,
RedTube,
Pornhub, and RedTube, and more.
Yeah.
And much like Netflix, it's making its own porn. It's not just sourcing other porn. It's now making its own porn. And as Chris alluded to, it's using this data to A/B test its own porn and see what people like more, down to the dialogue, which is incredible.
This is this analytics software they're going to be able to sell to commercial industries outside their own and make a lot of money.
That's probably the plan.
I hope they leave some of the function names. So when you're doing your e-commerce, it's like, oh, that's
nothing
weird.
is going to top the user interface control from the one article a few weeks ago.
It's like, yeah, we're having a bug in our count facials function, and I don't really understand what that means. We sell dog food.
Oh, no.
And
speaking of porn, one place that many of you are very angry about not getting porn from anymore is Tumblr.
The BBC has this article. Tumblr has returned the triumphant return to the Apple App Store after so apparently the Tim Cook and the lords of Apple have decided that the bloodletting is sufficient for the return to the Apple App Store.
Welcome back, son.
Yeah. There's there's a trail of blood and tears. The Internet Archive archived most of those blogs. So,
well, it's not so much about keeping those. It's the porn of opportunity, right? The fresh porn that we will no longer get. That OC.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, but on one hand, I never really went on that side of Tumblr, but it's kind of nice now. I can use the search function without it popping up all the time.
Oh, you're one of the teetotalers who want to.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine, but their adult tagging does not work. So
one wonders if Tumblr is tumbling in popularity, or if this will mark a turnaround for them. For their platform.
I think it's been crappy for a while ever since Yahoo bought it. They had too many JavaScript things. It's slow. It's clunky. It's
all of that's under oath, which Verizon recently declared to have no value. So
yeah, I don't think Tumblr will be much much longer for this world now that it's really backed out of its niche.
So nothing of value was lost. Yeah. And you might feel that same way come April.
Well, come 90 days from now. So there was a second Google Plus leak that we mentioned on Monday. And this is the sort of the security side of that. But Google is shutting down Google Plus completely 4 months early in April, March or April now. But the API access ends like pretty much immediately.
That's because developers had access to stuff that they shouldn't have. And stuff that you might not want them to have access to. And for the second time, it's been discovered that that data was being leaked.
Oops.
So yeah, they decided to kill it early.
Things that you put in Google Plus, see that never sat right with me. Like when you set up Google Plus, it was like, what's your name and your occupation and where you, and like all this stuff. But then it was like, well, you can turn this off so nobody ever sees it. And it's like, well, if nobody ever sees it, why are you making me putting it in?
Yeah.
Got to feed the machine, man.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about how more streaming TV shows were created than regular TV shows. And now another milestone that's bad for traditional media.
More people get their news from social media than newspapers. Oh, that's not good. There are some really amazing Pulitzer Prize winning authors out there that will work for peanuts and that are just tremendously good writers. And that makes me sad because they're really good writers. They're really good reporters. And social media is not something they've adapted to.
Except how many of the newspapers are actually hiring those people? Because like I read some of our local papers and it's like they're written by...
You'll see like TO and TOO or
mixed
lose,
up.
lose and loose.
That makes me so angry.
In a major newspaper, and it's like, how is that person not strangled? That's embarrassing.
That should have been caught by the editor, even if it wasn't caught by the writer. There should be an editor over top of the writers.
Or the next time they type it, they should be like, oh, I remember the last time I did this, and they hit me in the knee with a bat. I should not do that anymore. But
there are Pulitzer Prize winning authors out there that are just languishing, and it's terrible because they could be doing something amazing, but there's just not. Like the industry has changed, and I don't know what the fix is.
They need to write fan fiction on Tumblr, but they can't anymore.
So you can see the age breakdown here. Obviously, the older you get, this brown, this poop shaded one is television,
clay colored.
The older you get, the more you love the TV.
Oh yeah, I can like. It turns out that Ancient Aliens is really popular in the old folks demographic, and it's like, oh, I think this is real. And it's like,
I love, what channel is that? Because that's
Discovery.
That channel
is it Discovery? I thought it was History. Maybe
it is History.
But History Channel went from like history to aliens and Jesus.
Like the stuff. No, it's funnier than that because earlier in the week we learned the CEO of Google was being grilled by the Senate for all this fake news BS. And that is like literally the most popular thing in the older age demographic on television. And so it's like, how is it like the YouTube algorithm? It's not.
I don't know what you're talking about because aliens are real.
You have to admit there's a little bit of juxtaposition there because it's like, oh, it's on the internet. It's got to be legit. And it's like, these are just it's on TV. It's got to be legit. And in that age demographic, it's like, there was ancient aliens. I believe it. But when you have that on YouTube, you get the conspiracy theory pop up.
Well, Facebook, now we saw Google do this exact same thing, and they got a similar outcome. People weren't fans of it, but Facebook felt the need to file these patents anyway.
Facebook has filed a patent to calculate your future location. What could possibly go wrong?
It's actually more than one patent. I think they had 4 different ways of doing it. One of them was based on your previous locations. One of them was based on your Wi-Fi signal. And there were 2 more.
It sounds almost like your future location, man, like your future headspace. We're just going to estimate it.
It's definitely that because they're thinking about using it to obviously advertise to you and try to predict what to show you based on where you are and what's around you. So
wouldn't that be crazy if it like triggered billboard ads to change like on screens and stuff based on how many of X type of person are there?
Yeah, on the road. Yeah, I can totally see that happening. Now they make the argument every time somebody gets caught doing this because remember Amazon had that crazy patent. Remember the sex robot patent?
Yeah.
But I always say the same thing. It's like just because we patent something doesn't mean we're going to do it.
But it kind of does. Yeah.
For sure. And like Google Plus, Facebook faced its own. Go ahead and upload that. We won't show anybody. Oops, we showed everybody.
Facebook says a bug may have exposed the unposted photos of millions of users. I know somebody that actually got caught up in this. They were uploading photos to Facebook because they wanted free photo storage, and that's where all their other photos were. And they were like, I got this email. Is this legit? And it's like, yeah, this is legit. So Facebook is notifying users that were affected by that. And it's like, hey, your photos that you uploaded and marked private, turns out app developers could get access to that.
Bad news if you send dick pics over Facebook.
Or nudes. What if you're just storing your nudes on there?
Yeah, it's just storing them. Not even like, I don't want anybody to see these. I'm going to trust Facebook to keep it safe.
I mean, if you're storing your nudes on Facebook.
What a weird...
maybe you deserve it.
There's a lot of Facebook stories this week.
So the leaks for Facebook, this is nothing new. Facebook's been leaking stuff for a long time, but this one comes under GDPR. And the Irish have said some strong words.
Facebook could face $1 billion fine for data breaches this time. This is a CNN business article. And so I don't even know which leak this was.
Look how upset he looks.
I think it's this one.
The
it was
photo leak?
Or the video.
And it was the Irish Data Protection Commission has, I don't know if they have, but they're going to file an official GDPR complaint. If this goes down, that's the 4% rule.
Yeah.
That's going to be, we don't know how much, it'll be how much Facebook makes in 2018. But if they go on last year's data, it's definitely in the billions.
Nice.
That's going to hurt. What is the Irish government going to do with $1 billion? Does that go to the whole EU or just Ireland?
I think they'll appeal the ruling and they'll agree on something like $1 million or something. Like, or $2 million.
That's quite a write down.
Yeah.
$1 million. You give us, I don't know, some free, what would the Irish ask for free? Alcohol, perhaps? That's racist. Well, it's often we see in the modern world, sometimes I think these liberal professors just say this kind of nonsense.
To see if they can stir stuff up.
Yeah, to get attention. And boy, did this one get some attention.
This went viral, and it's like Minnesota professor, God didn't have Virgin Mary's consent to impregnate her. Why? Just, like, what's your motivation for writing this?
Do you think would it have to have been written consent?
I don't know, because she does say, let it be to me as you have said.
That sounds
to the angel.
That sounds like implied oral consent.
Yeah.
Well, wait.
But the angel was a third party.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's the confusion. I don't know.
Well, you know what? He should be served with papers.
Good luck.
He's got 2,000 years of child support to pay
back
off. Well, we talked last week about Soulja Boy, and he was offering 2 questionable gaming one was a watch and one was a gaming console.
We were pretty sure they were pirated ROMs.
And a lot of people questioned that, and his response was, do it again.
There's what is this called? I've forgotten already.
Fuze.
No, it's the Chinese Fuze console, but he's calling it something else.
I think it's just like Soulja Game.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's like regularly $700, marked down to $400. It's $350 in China. This is an NVIDIA based console that's popular in China. So literally, he's just sort of rebranding it as his own thing
and drop shipping it.
Yeah,
and that's an Android, so you can actually play Android games on that. And the specs on that one aren't nearly as bad as the other two.
Yeah,
but marking it up and not actually doing anything to it. Yeah,
look, it's not like it's not going to say Soulja Game when you get it. It's going to be called the Fuze because that's what it is.
Crank that Soulja Boy. That's the only song I know by him.
I feel like somebody that is advising him on what to do with his vast wealth really needs to be fired.
I don't know if that wealth is as vast as it used to be. He's not relevant anymore, right?
Is he? Yes, yes.
Someone is using this to siphon away his retirement fund then.
Well, I think somebody's like, hey, SJ, I've got this idea with a Chinese company and just put it on your website and we'll make this X amount of money. He's like, all right, dog, here you go. And he doesn't.
That is not a good way to manage your retirement wealth.
He needs a better financial planner where he's for him.
It could be also like a family
Maybe he fires
member.
all his financial planners.
Yeah, it could be like a nephew or something, you know.
I get this idea. Look at this thing I got on
Someone is like,
AliExpress.
you don't need to pay taxes. Don't worry about any of that.
That doesn't work out in the long run. It might take a while, but it doesn't work out.
Well, if you're doing some last minute shopping, then right after you watch this, because you're watching it first thing in the morning, right? Right after you watch this, you might be on your way to Walmart.
As one does.
There's a darkness for the Walmart employees.
This is another thing that went viral. It was crazy. So this 17-year-old Walmart employee has quit over the store intercom. Nobody should work here ever. And there's a video of it on Facebook. It's got like 300,000 likes. He talks about how his managers would lie to him or mislead him and, sort of demoralize him. And he's like, look, nobody should ever have to endure this. It's really terrible.
Here he is.
Oh, you can't hear it, though, or they're not going to be able to hear it from
Well, no,
this.
I mean, I'm
But
just
You have to go
saying.
watch it.
They have to watch it, but here's the perpetrator here, Jack.
Yeah. Oh, it's up to 500,000 views now.
And he has some specific complaints about his manager, but also says that
And corporate.
it's a terrible thing. And he's probably not wrong. But
he may be a terrible employee, too. We don't really know the full story.
could very well be the case. Now, I wonder, could there be any kind of like criminal charges there?
I don't think so. I think that kind of thing.
He dropped an F-bomb.
Well, I mean,
That's probably fine.
you drop F-bombs at lunch every day, but no one ever...
But there's no young children shopping.
There's sometimes old people right behind us in the booth.
Well, if they're old, then it's not going to be the first time
They
that
can't
they've
hear
heard the
anything.
F-bomb. Yeah.
YouTube Rewind. That's news. Everybody's talking about it. We got to talk about that.
We
right?
weren't invited to YouTube Rewind, which I don't really... Yeah.
Because it was the top 100 most popular YouTube, right?
Really, I mean, we should have taken 3 slots
Yeah.
for, each one of us.
But us not being there, maybe not as surprising as PewDiePie not being there. And that seems to have angered people who've come with the downvotes.
Well, I think people didn't like it as well because... I mean, it had like Will Smith in it, and like just people who aren't really YouTubers.
A little corporate friendly, some
Yeah.
people have argued.
Yeah. It's the most disliked video ever. MKBHD was in it, and he had a video that talked about his, what his thoughts on it. And it was a little... It was a little insightful. I mean, he was just like, look, it's corporate and it's a turnaround, and YouTube wants to be advertiser friendly. And so that's why this rewind is different than rewinds in the years gone past. But even last year's rewind was kind of corporate friendly.
This one, too, the whole thing was like, hey, we heard you guys like Fortnite. We do, too. Like, the whole thing. Did you guys watch it? It really was,
I
like, just
watched it.
constant Fortnite references.
They're literally in the battle bus.
And I would not suggest that anybody follow PewDiePie just to get caught up in that whole thing. But I wholeheartedly suggest go ahead and throw your downvote on that video.
It is that bad. I watched the whole thing because I was like, it can't be that bad, but it really is.
It's a little cringy.
Well, here's something that I really wish Wendell would get selected for, because it would be hilarious.
I will struggle.
I have a friend who's doing this right now.
You wouldn't make it 2 days.
The Tech Times has the article, $100,000 is up for grabs for someone who can live without a smartphone for 365 days. Now, before I had a smartphone, I resisted getting a smartphone. Before I had a smartphone, I had this Motorola thing that was like a clamshell pager thing that could do email, and it was considered a pager, not a phone.
See, I don't think they're going to get
no.
you, like, they're going to say that's a technicality,
Right.
and we don't care about technicalities.
No
we just
way.
want our stupid promotion where people will be like, wow, brand.
Vitamin water.
Vitamin water. I don't even remember
water
what
is the
brand it
brand.
is. Yeah.
And there's no way they let you get away with this. Now, if you're sitting there and you're thinking, "Oh, easy, I could do that easily, sign me up. Well, it's not that easy. They're not offering this to everybody. You have to like do a video why they should choose you, and it's kind of like a reality show application process, and you probably have to do appearances, and you're going to earn that $100,000. But I mean, if
That's not a bad
if that
chunk
was
of
a
change.
straight up offer you made me for $100,000, I think I could easily do it. Easily.
You can still use a desktop computer.
You cannot use anything with a touch
Well,
screen.
I was going to say we couldn't do it, though, as web developers because we have to test.
Well, I'll just make you do all the testing.
Oh, no, I got stuff to do. I got to test my own things.
Well, the Guardian has an incredible article, and it's very long. We can't tell you everything about it, but it's sort of the darkness of the Apple geniuses. I wish they'd make this into like a 30-minute film.
That could be us. We could do that.
It's an expose. They have Apple exposed. You really should read this. Even if you're a little bit into Apple, you should read about, like, this is straight up psychological, like out of the CIA playbook almost. Not really. I mean, it's a little bit hyperbole, but not really.
Well, let's talk about some of the high points of it. One of the most important things is speech restrictions. So as a genius, you don't use the word bug or crash or I think even broken. Never. You never talk about that. When someone comes in and says, hey, my iPhone is crashing, you never blame the iPhone. You apologize, but you say, I'm sorry that you feel bad.
I'm sorry you are experiencing issues.
Yeah, it's not the iPhone's fault.
Which is like not even an apology, really. It's
Yeah.
just like, I'm
But
sorry you feel that way.
But it sounds sincere. The other things they talk about are the crazy hiring practices. So basically, it's like boot camp or basic training. They put you through such a gauntlet to get hired that by the time that you get hired, you feel like you've accomplished something and that you're part of the team. Because, it's like that, the battle brotherhood that they say is like this big bond that you forge. You feel bonded to the other geniuses because you've all gone through this hell. And by paying you a barely living wage, they ensure that older people with children don't want the job. So they have young,
Fresh, hip.
stupid geniuses who feel like they belong to something even
Fresh,
though they're
hip.
just being exploited.
It's,
Good job, Apple.
I mean, yeah, it's not surprising, but
It's
it's weird how like industrialized they've made it.
And with most things Apple, it's terrible, but it's impressive.
The gulag is really operating with ruthless efficiency.
Yeah. They also talk about psychological manipulation of if you complain about something being too expensive, they have a whole thing that they go through to try to twist you around, So, again, it's a great thing to read. And Samsung, one thing that Apple has done impressively is partner with Dr. Dre, for example. Those Beats headphones. How much do you think margin they make on those Beats headphones?
Oh,
was
probably
crazy.
huge. Yeah.
I mean,
They
it's
didn't really
just-
partner with him so much as bought him out.
Yeah, well, he's still involved, I think.
Yeah, but he's
So-
on the board because I love going to the Apple executives page and it's like everybody's name and then Dr. Dre. And it's
And
like,
it-
Not even like his real name, like his birthday.
and he's in like
just
the
Dr. Dre.
turtleneck.
but
and
he's
stuff.
not even a real doctor. So that was a good move. They found somebody who was hip and was big in the streets, and they partnered with them. And Samsung said, "Hey, we should do that," but they made a critical error.
But Samsung has partnered with Supreme, the Italian knockoff version of Supreme, which is legal in Italy. Whoops.
They're a clothing brand. I recognize this logo, but I don't know what their clothes look like off the top of my head.
Well, listen, I'm so out of touch. I had no idea. When I read that headline, I was like, "Are they like the Supremes, the musical group?"
No.
It's like, is one of them still alive? And they've partnered with Samsung?
No, I knew it was like a clothing brand, but I don't know. Like I don't know what demographic they target.
Young, very young. Because this person talks about how it's a young people clothing brand. Well, they said it's a clothing brand for young people and celebrities who are too old to be wearing it. So yeah, but apparently the Italian in Italy they have rules that you can copy fashion, and so Samsung accidentally partnered with the knockoff.
Yikes!
And speaking of knockoffs, how about this Russian robot?
Gizmodo has the article that Russian state TV shows off a robot that's actually a man in a robot suit. Now, the company that's responsible for this came out and said, no, we weren't trying to fool anybody. It's just that the state TV reporter got the details wrong. But it's literally just a dude in a robot
looks
suit.
pretty
This one looks
convincing.
pretty convincing in this
Yeah.
particular shot, but then when you go down,
Oh, look at that.
there's his neck.
There he is. Looks like they could have put a little bit of a, like
Or he could have just worn a black turtleneck back then.
foil or,
Yeah.
fabric or something.
Yeah.
So maybe that's like a, thermal thing.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that's probably hot
So
as
he
hell.
doesn't pass out.
Yeah.
The Disney people figured that out.
But yeah, unfortunate that, well, actually not. I mean, it was just unfortunate for the state TV didn't research at all and became embarrassed. Well, one of the other things that we're not in the demographic for Supreme, and we're definitely not in the demographic for Taylor Swift.
There's a lot of Taylor Swift fans that are also not in the demographic for Taylor Swift, but
And
And
some
look
of,
what they made her do.
yeah, some of those people I think are the reason for this.
the BBC News article has this where Taylor Swift fans tracked at her gig. So there was a
Short
kiosk.
answer is yes.
Yes, there was a kiosk that did face recognition, And there was a company that was doing security, or part of what the company was supposed to do was security. And they were doing face recognition of the fans to see if anybody was on the known naughty list from Taylor Swift.
Look at her. She is lovely. Krista, do you have any of these massive rectangular earrings?
I actually really like big earrings, but I don't wear them as much anymore.
You should get some of those. You see what brand.
I'm sure that's way
rocking
super
there.
expensive for what they are.
I could make you some out of a coat hanger.
Also, the lighting in this picture looks like her face is melting.
I think she's probably got like a sparkly dress on, and it's reflecting against her chin.
Well, some of those people who've been, you thought you were just doing some light stalking, and now you found out that you've been facially recognized. You might be swearing about that. But one place you better not be swearing is in the JavaScript development kit.
That's where I put all my rants about Taylor Swift. So
The Open JDK, the Open Java Development Kit, the source has too many swear words. That was a bug that somebody filed. And it's been marked as resolved with some stuff here. But yeah, apparently there's a lot of swearing. But one of the reasons that the swearing was there, some of the swearing is because there's a blacklist of naughty words.
But in some cases, it really was just, anger at probably poor decisions that were made in Java. And was this really necessary?
we'll just change all the words to hug.
That works.
But
Yeah, that's fine.
what
It worked.
what did it hurt? It's not even, so in most cases.
It's not even like client facing, really.
Well, swearing in most cases is a series of sounds that some people find unpleasant. But this is text. So it's a series of characters. You could choose not to look at the characters.
This crazy moon language thing, I don't know what you're thinking.
Could you make your own branch that was like all swear words removed?
Yeah, you
Well,
totally
that's
could.
essentially what they're
That's
trying
what
to do
yeah.
here. I mean, it's a...
Well, I
it's-
mean, it would be so stupid though to do that. Like, why bother?
But that's what I'm saying. Shouldn't there be a policy that your bug fix can't be of no value?
Well, what if you want to say that you contributed to WordPress core?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
yeah.
Exactly. I think that might have been the motivation here. And we talked about Alexa during one of the previous episodes. I don't remember which one. And we alluded to this story, which is maybe my favorite story of the week.
A parrot who has made friends with its owner's Alexa keeps accidentally ordering things from Amazon.
Oh, accidentally.
Like,
Yeah, it knows what it's
not an
doing. It's a gray
accident.
parrot.
Well,
Fruits and vegetables?
the headline is a little bit of a letdown because it turns out that there's a parental lock on the Alexa, and the African Grey can't actually buy anything.
Aren't African Greys like one of the smarter parrots, though? I bet it's doing it on
Yes.
purpose.
It has a massive vocabulary. And the things that it ordered were fruits and vegetables. So, of course, it knows that it wants fruits and vegetables.
African Grey is good parrot.
Here it
Alexa, order good parrot.
Oh, is this a stock photo?
There's no
that
way,
can't be
right?
that. That
No,
cannot be a
that's,
stock photo.
I can't even find generic bottle image. Oh,
Oh, look at that terrible.
why would she only had one eye?
I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this bird also not just ordering things. But yeah, the parental controls stopped it from getting us, but
Look how sad that parrot
it
looks.
loves to listen to music, and it will use Alexa.
It will. Yeah,
Aw.
yeah. Didn't the guy say that he came home and it was listening to romantic music or something?
Yeah, it's like or light jazz sometimes. It plays.
Oh, that's precious.
Oh, there it is. It's definitely not a stock photo. There it is.
Look how happy that parrot is
With
to
its
be with
new
its
friend
Alexa.
and there's the owner.
That, not to stereotype, but she kind of looks like a bird owner.
Well, this was also a rescue because apparently this bird was ill-tempered in whatever rescue it was at.
Oh yeah, it was causing all kinds of trouble. And then there was the other article from last week. We didn't do the news story, but one of these same African Greys had got onto the rooftop, and they summoned the fire department. And when the fire department showed up, it just cursed them. And by the time when they actually got onto the roof, because they thought it couldn't fly because its wings were clipped, and like a cat, once they got up there, it just flew down. So yeah.
Do people still get exotic birds? Like, is that a very? I don't know anyone who has one anymore.
Engagement challenge.
Well, this woman does.
I knew
think
one
they're
person growing
expensive,
up.
aren't they?
Yeah, they
Yes.
are, and they're expensive to maintain, and they can be noisy.
They're high maintenance.
Yeah, they're high maintenance pet.
I had some family that used to have birds, and we would go there for Christmas sometimes, and it was really annoying.
Yeah,
But it is cool that there's an animal that can talk, right?
and an African Grey would probably be better than like just a standard parrot because they're smarter.
We should do a new version of H.G. Wells' The Time Machine, where, instead of people, it's parrots, and the only thing left, there's like one Alexa that's left functional on the planet Earth, and that's, a future version of Alexa that has the sum of all human knowledge, and the parrots talking to Alexa, and that's the allegory for like the downfall of humanity or something.
What are the Morlocks in that equation?
Snakes? Since snakes eats birds?
The boiler snake.
I don't know. That's enough of that. Hope you guys have a good holiday. We'll see you Tuesday, but it might be at a different time. It might not be at midnight. It's probably going to be live. It might not be live. We don't know.
Our editor is taking the week of Christmas off, so we won't have him like we normally do.
Tuesday.
We have no idea.
My family has decided to do Tuesday as the dinner day.
Yeah,
so
Tuesday. I'll be out Tuesday, Wednesday.
There's no way I can do it Tuesday.
Yeah.
But I think we can say, or can we confidently say that whatever live day it will be, check Twitter,
Or recorded.
there will be alcohol.
There will be alcohol.
Wendell has agreed, which means I have agreed, because I don't want to be the odd man out.
I might be able to edit it on Monday. I mean, these usually don't require a lot of editing, so it might be okay.
Yeah, but you're going to be hungover, and it's going to be probably a lot of stuff that we said that we shouldn't.
I'll be grumpy, but it'll be fine.
It'll be funnier if we do it live.
I'll leave in the stuff that we shouldn't say because honestly, I'll be too lazy to do anything else. But
how will we get into the 2019 YouTube Rewind?
Oh, yeah, that should be our only goal. Like, we should just start making clickbait. We should be as big as Will Smith
that's
and Fortnite.
That's quite a challenge.
I think we can do it, and everyone will be like, doing dances from
With
the
your
Level1
support,
News.
we can do it.
With your Patreon dollars. Okay, we'll see you then.
Bye.